Hello everybody, today we're doing a room called Wekor on TryHackMe. So it says this is a little CTF that's focused on enumeration and understanding of services and thinking outside the box. And it says we should use the name Wekor TryHackMe. So let's go to our sudo nano, our etc host. And you can see I have these two domains added. So pretty much just add this domain first of all. I'll get onto this domain later. So first thing, we're just going to remove this. Remove the IP address and put it in and press and save that. Now we can see the Nmap scan. I did a service version scan with common scripts with an aggressive tag on the IP address, and we can see we have two ports open, SSH and port 80 web server. And one thing we can see we have a robots.txt enabled, and we can see a subdomain called come in really soon. And let's go to this website. So let's put in this IP address and navigate to it. So we can see welcome internet user, and if we navigate to robots.txt, so let's go to that. I'm gonna save you some time. These are just all just a waste of time, all of these except from this one here. The way I found out about just going to them. So let's go to this IP address first of all, if I can copy it properly. So let's get rid of robots.txt and put in the IP. We can see dear client, we have a latest website on it.next, so please go there. So let's move to this directory and go here. Did not put that in right. So remember, this may happen. It's a bit annoying. I don't know why it happens on Firefox, but if we just put in the HTTP, should work, and it has. So one thing that you can do is look at the little boxes. As if you look in the room, it will tell you that it involved SQLi. You could also get the same thing by doing WPS scan and scanning the IP address, well, you know, the URL, and it'll tell you that there's a vulnerable part of the page. So you can keep going down to the contact box, and you could try these out for an SQL injection by going to burp suite and capturing the request. But I'm just going to speed things up. So pretty much I check these one by one for SQLi, and the thing that's vulnerable is this little box here. So this bit's a little hard, so I'm going to walk you through it. If you go click on Foxy Proxy and go to HTTP, we'll put test here. But one thing we'll need to do first of all is go on burp suite. Once we're on burp suite, we'll be able to capture the request, and with this request we'll be able to send it to SQL map, which will automate the SQL injections. Instead of us manually injecting an SQL injection, which can take a long time and very tedious, we can speed things up with using SQL map to automate this. So I'm gonna capture this request. I'm gonna press, so you can see I click test and it's been captured, the request. So one thing we can do, you can click Control A and capture all, and Control C to save it. Now one thing we want to do is we want to close burp suite now. Actually, let's just be a bit careful, we might not have saved it properly. So if you do request, pretty much that'll stand for request.txt, and put it in. Now one thing we can see is that I saved a full request, which is good. Now let's close the burp suite. Now we don't need it anymore. We can see this isn't requesting because the burp suite is closed and it dropped the request. Just resend the request. It might take a little bit. So we were able to capture this. Now one thing we're going to do is SQL map, and I really cannot remember the syntax to this, but I think it's this little tag R, and if you get request.txt, put this in here. I think it's a DBS to get the and batch. I remember this because I did the hack the box academy SQL map thing, and you can see the module, and we can see that we have all these tables here that has been populated. If you don't know SQL map, there's a good course on Hack the Box Academy which will teach you all the basics. So if we do D for database, and the database we want to see is WordPress, and we want to enumerate a table, so I think it's big T to enumerate the tables. Or let me cancel this for a second. So if we do SQL map, and if we do help for a second to remember the syntax, so enumerate tables is big T, to enumerate a specific database is D. So let's just enumerate a database first of all. That's all we're going to do, enumerate a database. So we can see it does exist, and I think we need to enumerate the tables. I think that might have been my mistake. To do T for the tables, and we can see we ain't getting anything, which is a bit strange. So I think it's table, not just big T. That's my mistake. So you can see it's very easy to mess up the syntax, which is very annoying. So if we do this again, we can see we get WP users. So if we do tag T and we want to enumerate this table, and I think we want to dump it all as well. So if we do dump, the reason why I used bat is that this automatically presses, it fills in the options. Can you see here, this automatically did it here. Press enter, this automatically pressed 1. Instead of me doing this manually, it does it all for me, so I don't even need to press anything. And we can see it's trying to brute force some things. It's not going to work because this isn't working, and my terminal went a bit dodgy for a second, but luckily it fixed itself. So if we do nano, I think we'll save this as pass.txt for passwords. And if we look here, we get this subdomain. That's how I found out the subdomain, and you can see it's a WordPress website, and this matches the WordPress database we just enumerated. And we want to save this. This is a custom WordPress hash, I'm pretty sure, because WordPress uses custom hashes that are slightly different to like MD5 and SHA-256. So let's just save these as username, password. So let's just grab all of these. We can see we're getting a couple of users as well, which we can use to enumerate the WP admin page on the website. As since we got hashes, we most likely will be able to crack at least a couple of these hashes. Unlikely that we'd be able to crack the admin hash though, because normally the admin hash is normally slightly more complicated, unless it's the default admin, which we may get lucky and we may get that. So we want to do John the Ripper, well, John. So we can see we're using the word, let's use the share word list rockview.txt, and we don't want to do hash.txt, we want to do pass.txt. That's our file we saved as. And we can see straight away we get some things right here. We get Jeffrey, Eagle, and I don't know how to pronounce that name, Yara or whatever. So we're gonna cancel this because we can't get the admin hash. I tried for a while, didn't get anywhere. So if you do sudo nano etc host, and what you want to do is we want to add this subdomain to pretty much our files. This will resolve websites to IP addresses. So I'm going to check the IP is right as well for a second. So yeah, the IP is right. So back to enumeration, we can see we get a website called WordPress. We can get rid of this page now. Are we just going to be focusing on the subdomain now? The main domain has just given us access to some credentials, and I think it's admin. I cannot remember where. I think it's admin. What I'm going to look up is admin page for WordPress admin login page, because if you don't know where it is, this should hopefully be able to help you find it. So you can see here WP admin. Luckily we were able to find it. So I'm gonna close this to save some memory. So remember, sometimes you just need it's a bit annoying, but sometimes you need to do HTTP and just give the full URL. We can try these one by one, and the only one I think has editor access is this last one. They all work, but you get different levels of access. This is like contributor, I'm pretty sure, access, which is better. So we can say this email is correct, just let me in. This bit's a bit annoying because it takes you a while, because what we want to do now is upload like a PHP reverse shell. So if I go to revshells.com quickly while we're waiting, and we want to scroll down and we want to go to PHP, because since it's WordPress, it's most likely using PHP. You can see my IP address is here. If you're using Kali, your IP address will show up here as well. It will be your OpenVPN IP address most likely. And we can see I'm listening on the port 4848. So if I do a netcat listener, but before I get too carried away with myself, I'm going to do nano shell.php because it's a PHP file we're going to be uploading. So once we've done that, we want to set up a netcat listener, and we'll have to wait for this to load. This may take a little while, or I can press this to remind me later. May speed things up, but you can see this is going to take a while. So I will be back. So we're back. It finally loaded after a little bit. So one thing we want to do now is go to, I think it's comments, it's appearance, and we want to go to theme editor. So what we're going to do is do something slightly sneaky. So we're going to go to template 404, and one thing we're going to do is we're going to add a reverse shell. Actually, it may be smarter just go back. We're going to go back to revshells.com for a quick second, and we're just going to scroll down back to the PHP pentest monkey reverse shell. We can see the details are correct. I'm just going to copy this and just paste this in to save myself a little bit of headache, just, saving it from bash. And what we need to do is find the specific location of this 404 file. So if we do so I may have it saved somewhere, but one thing we're going to need to do, I think it's WordPress. Since it's a WordPress, it's going to be WordPress, and I think it'll be themes something. So we can see WordPress admins themes WP. So I'm going to need to remember the specific 404 location. So WordPress 404 PHP, and we can see it right. Luckily I have it saved, but if you don't know where this specific page is, you can just go to Google and just type in WordPress 404.php. I think it's 2021, 2020, my spelling's atrocious, one page, and pretty much it'll show you right here, this is where it is. So we need the specific, the URL location to load this reverse shell. And remember, we need to be listening on our port now. So if you press enter, this should hopefully work, if you cross our fingers and hope. And this loading sign is a really good, it's a good sign, and we can see we do have, RCE, remote code execution. And one thing I want to do, if you do ls, we can see this isn't formatted properly. We want to upgrade our shell slightly to a Python 3 TTY shell. This will give us a little bit more, it'll give us a little bit more interactability with the shell, pretty much. It'll make it a bit more stable and a bit more better to use. And we can see right now it's formatted so much more better. So if we do cd home, do ls. Now one thing I want to do is just load up linpeas. If you haven't downloaded linpeas, you can just go kali linpeas.sh download, and it should show you this one here. You just want to click on this, and this will show you how to install linpeas. So I have linpeas installed, so if I just do, I think it's peas, it'll show me my location where I have it saved. So if I do cd over here, and if I do linpeas, we can see I'm in the limpies directory. So I'm gonna create a server to send this. So I'm gonna download this off my attacking box to my victim machine. So if I go to the victim machine, I'm putting the IP address, not the limpies.sh. So if you just put in my IP address, for you it'll be your IP address. So if I just download this off right now and just put in limpies.sh, we can see it cannot write because I forgot to do one thing. We need to be in a temp directory because we cannot write anywhere. So if we were to get this over, we can see we can download it. So we're going to need to change this to be executable first of all. So we do limpies.sh and we need to change this to be more interactive, and we can see it is working. So limpies will just help us enumerate like the, I guess you could say, the attack surface to look for things that are vulnerable. And we can see right now it's checking the directories, and we want to look for things that are red or yellow. Yellow is a pretty good indicator that it's like vulnerable. Green is just like some normal, services or whatnot, and blue is just, nothing really to look at. And you mostly just want to look at red / yellow, red or green now and again if you can't really find anything, or something a little bit sneaky. Limpies is starting to work, and we can see first of all we have sudo. That's not is vulnerable. It's an outdated version of sudo. We can have a look at that. We can see it's vulnerable to some CVEs, so we can see it's not a fully updated machine. And if you keep scrolling, we can just see some more noise, I guess. It's nothing really helpful, just some random things that we could look into later if we cannot find anything. We can see this is our PTY shell. We can see this is our shell right here running as www-data, and we can see some capabilities, I'm pretty sure, right up here. And if you keep scrolling down, we can see some interesting things in the cron tabs, and we should hopefully be able to find some services that are running in the background if you keep scrolling down for a little bit. This is what I'm interested in. We can see we get a MySQL server open. This is the MySQL port, but we can see this port is pretty interesting. It's not standard. We can see these are mostly MySQL ports here, and we'll find some MySQL credentials as well. But to give you a little hint in advance, MySQL is just a massive rabbit hole. We won't find anything interesting. We could do MySQL on the machine, but it's not going to work. So now one thing we're going to do quickly is we're going to go to what is this port, what is on port, this port number, and Google should hopefully tell us that it's a Memcached service, and we can see right here HackAdvisor right below, which is perfect. We're going to click on HackAdvisor and it's going to give us an idea how to target this. So since this is localhost, it's running on localhost, we're going to need a telnet to this. And if we read here, Memcached, Memcached is a high performance, pretty much a memory storage system and a database, so it may have credentials. And we can see we can telnet to this, so we'll have to do telnet localhost the IP address, and we can dump the items. So we'll dump all the items, and we can pretty much enumerate a database and look at specific things that are right there. We can see that pretty much limpies is still running in the background, and it's just making a bunch of stuff. Should be over soon anyway. But if we look here, we can see Memcached allows unauthorized access, meaning no credentials are required to access it. However, this Memcached servers potential attackers, so we can do a DDoS attack, which probably is out of scope for a CEF since we just want to capture the flags. And luckily it's over now, so we should telnet over. So if you do telnet localhost, and we want to put in the IP, and we can see we're in Mem. So let's dump all the database. Let's see what we have. Anything interesting? And we get username. So if we do, I think it's get username. Never mind. I think it might be lowercase. Yeah, it's get username, and we see the value of our user. The reason how I got this, I did a little bit more of, looking into this Memcached, like how to use pen testing, and you get a lot more coming up. You can see we get hack tricks, hacking articles, and we can see we get some more, medium articles which we could use to have a look into. So if we just do get password, we get the password here. And I cannot remember how to exit this. That doesn't work. And so what I'm going to do is just going to exit out of this and just hope that this reverse shell should work again. Perfect. So we're going to need to do this again. So if we just go up here and put in the HTTP, it is listening and it is working, so this should hopefully work. And we get back into it. So again, we're going to need to get a Python3 TTY shell. Python3 TTY shell. And it should be here somewhere, a TTY, right here. So let's just copy this. Whoops. So let's just copy Python3. This will give us a properly interactive terminal to sudo over. If I can get the syntax right. So I'm going to save this password. We're going to need it. So I think it's Orca, the user. If it is here, Orca. and let's put that in and put in the password. And we should be able to authenticate as this user. Yeah, and we are in. Quick check on the time. I'll extend this a little bit. Don't run out. So we do ls, and if we cd over to home, do ls again, and cd over to orc. Orca, I'm hoping I'm saying the name right. If you do cat user.txt, we get it. The only thing we need now is, well, for me, is root.txt. So if we do sudo -l, and we put in the IP, well, the password for this user. I'm going to save this here for a second so I don't forget it. So if we just run Bitcoin, we should be able to run this. Whoops. And this is to sudo and run this first of all. And it's asking us for a password. So if it says access denied, which is pretty interesting. So let's just cd over to the desktop and see what's happening. If you cut this, we're just going to get a bunch of randomness. So we know this is like a compiled file or somewhat. It's a compiled binary, so we can't really, unless we want to decompile it, which isn't worth the headache, honestly. If we look here, we can get some more useful information. So we could try to modify this, or we could do something even more and simpler. Since it's saying this specific path, and we own this path here, if we cd out, we can see, do we own this path? Can we move this path? And we can see, if we look, it's owned by root, but we can pretty much read and execute. So we have read and execute permissions over this folder. So if we're very smart, so let's move this over. So if we do desktop and we put a slash here and we put test, we can see we moved it. Now we can create a new directory. So if we do make the desktop, we need to make sure this path matches. So if we do make the desktop, and if we copy bin bash to desktop bitcoin, and we'll need to make sure this matches as well, and you press enter, it works. So if you go back to desktop, and if you run bitcoin again, we should hopefully get root. So if we just do sudo bitcoin and we get root, so we can see here we've run it as sudo. So since we can run sudo as root, pretty much we can create a bin bash binary. We can create a file with bin bash privileges pretty much. And since it doesn't properly validate the folder, since we could just remove the original one and replace it with our own, this condition is still true. And since we can run this as root, we can add a bin bash binary to this position and run it as root. So I'm gonna cd a root and get myself the root flag as well. So vcat root.txt, we get the root flag. And this room can be a little bit complicated if you don't know how to research things properly.